Prepare for dogfights and childless cat ladies. Tomorrow, Tim Walz and J.D. Vance will go head-to-head in the last debate scheduled before Election Day. The host, CBS, says it'll be up to the candidates themselves to fact-check each other, and the mics will stay hot for them to do just that. Joining me now, Stuart Stevens, chief strategist for Mitt Romney's 2012 campaign. Here with me in studio, Warren campaign senior advisor and former campaign manager for Julian Castro, Maya Rupert. So, Maya, CBS says, well, it reserves the right to mute, but the plan is to let them have at it. What are you expecting?
You know, I really don't know. When they made the decision not to fact check, obviously that means there's going to be a lot more back and forth. And I really think it depends on how, I think it depends on how J.D. Vance is going to show up. I think that if he is going to echo Trump's approach in this race, if he is going to repeat a lot of mistruths, I really do think that what we're going to see is honestly a lot of fireworks on stage, which I think makes for interesting TV, but not super helpful for independents who are watching this trying to understand what everybody is going to do. So I think there's an opportunity, and I think both of them want to come in and make an affirmative case. But I fear without any fact checking, we're going to see a lot of that, the need to do that in real time.
Yeah, and you never know how those swing voters are going to react to something that's aggressive. What defines overly aggressive? Stuart, NBC News reports that J.D. Vance's team has been honing his debate strategy for more than a month with these, you've heard them before, murder boards. They work through the tough questions. And we got a preview of his strategy from Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer, who has been playing Walz in debate prep. Take a listen.
He's so good at being this folksy, nice, kind of down-to-earth guy until people get to know him and his policies. Once he understands that Tim Walz is just going to try and deflect and go into this folksy whatever, he'll hold him accountable. I think J.D. will do a great job.
How aggressive do you think, Stuart, J.D. Vance can be against Walz? He's got this, coach, folksy dad demeanor about him, although I don't think anybody is expecting him to just, lie down and take it.
Yeah, look, I don't work for the Harris campaign, so I don't have to worry about lowering expectations, which I would if I was working for him. I think Walz is going to crush this guy.
Really?
J.D. Vance is a very unlikable human being. The more you see him, the more you don't like him.
He was very aggressive against Tim Ryan in the last Senate debate they did, and I mean aggressive. I went back and watched it, and he won.
Well, he also got 400,000 less votes in the top of the ticket, which is pretty extraordinary. I've never really seen that happen before. Perhaps the top of the ticket realized that if J.D. Vance won, he would be out there accusing Springfield of killing pets. Look, I think that it goes back to what is the premise of the campaign that Trump and Vance are running? What is it? What is the bargain they're striking with voters? Because that's really the message that J.D. Vance needs to deliver. Ideally, he would be in a situation where he's reminding voters, this is what you get, this positive that you get with me. And they failed to establish that because they really don't have anything, which is why Project 2025 has filled that gap. I think it's not a bad thing to spend some time watching these debates with the sound off. I think that you're going to end up feeling much more comfortable with Walz than with Vance, and that's hugely important.
Well, Maya, the Walz team is calling this debate the North Star, Camp North Star, because they say he just has to be himself. But again, what is himself? I mean, he can't come off as somebody who can't stand up for himself, who can't stand up for Kamala Harris and for their policies.
Right. And I think what we've seen of him, and I think what we will see, is that despite the fact that he does have this very affable demeanor, he's coach, that's all real. He has never shied away from defending Vice President Harris against attacks, putting forth the affirmative case for their campaign. So I think he actually really is in I think, a pretty enviable place of being able to go up there, be himself, talk honestly about what they've been doing. Whereas I think J.D. Vance actually has a lot of work to accomplish on this debate stage, and I just don't know if he's up for it.
So, Stuart, J.D. Vance has had, let's say, multiple controversies since he was named the vice presidential running mate, though none, I think, as lasting as the comments about women and childless cat ladies. His wife, Usha Vance, has been involved in debate prep, and I wonder if you expect him to say what she has said, which was that this was taken out of context. He was actually saying it can be hard to be a parent in this country. What are you going to be watching for, because you know he's going to be asked about it?
Well, we know a couple of things. It's a really good question. We know that he can't contradict Trump. Trump won't allow that. He can't try to explain something for Trump because Trump would hate that. So their whole theory of politics is never back down. So I don't think that he's very likely to say that he didn't mean this. He might say the media misinterpreted it. But, you know, just to step back, and God forbid I should give them advice, if Trump in his debate or Vance did this, if they went out and said, look, Donald Trump had never been elected to office before. He was a tumultuous president, but he's going to be a much better president next time. He's learned a lot. That would open the door to a lot of voters who might be tilting their way.
Okay, give me, what is the chance? Yeah, what's the chance that happens? 3%,
exactly.
2%, 1%?
Yeah, probably not that high. So that digs them into a strategy. And, you know, ultimately debates, I think, are sort of cases in front of a jury. And ideally, you ought to be able to end with your open, which is to say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to prove to you the following. If you ask, what is it that Vance is going to try to have to prove about Harris Walz? That they're communist, that they're extremists, that they're people that want to, you know, have illegal immigrants have free transgender surgery every minute or something. I mean, there's no sort of coherent argument there. And I think Walz is, you know, he's a more experienced politician than J.D. Vance. He's debated a lot more than J.D. Vance. I would not underestimate his ability to come back at J.D. Vance with some very effective rhetoric.
There is a controversy that has involved Governor Walz, as you well know, Maya, about his military service. He did serve decades. But he said he carried weapons of war in war and then had to say, I misspoke. Is that a believable defense?
I absolutely think it is. And I actually think this is the kind of misspeaking or gaffe that we were sort of formerly used to, because it genuinely can be explained away. He wasn't trying to take credit for military service that he didn't actually serve. There's no argument about what he has done, what his service record is, and I think he can...
Well, there was a suggestion he served in Afghanistan when actually it was Italy.
Sure, right, but I think, the point he was trying to make there was not... He made those comments, I think, talking more about the use of these kinds of weapons, right? So I don't think that the issue there is that he was trying to take credit for a type of service as much as he was saying, you know, as someone who has been in the situation, I can speak to this larger sort, right? So I think, again, I think these are the kinds of things that on a debate stage, you can say, this is what I said, this is what I meant, this is the point I was trying to make. That's what debate, I feel like that's actually what this kind of thing is best for. People don't know everything about him. It is his chance to go up and say, I misspoke. I think, again, when we're talking about Vance, the controversies he's been involved in, you can't say those were, he wasn't misspeaking. He said what he meant, and it's why it's been so impossible to unwind these comments. He very clearly believes the things he has been saying.
Maya Rupert, Stuart Stevens, thank you both. Tomorrow.
Thank you.
It's going to be interesting.
Yes.
And in fact, Rachel Maddow and team will lead our special coverage and analysis of the debate between Vance and Walz. Be sure to tune in beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on MSNBC.